Good morning at Vadabar, or as they say on the German side of the line of conflict, Guten Morgen, New Schwabenland und Holwelt. Today, I guess I should also welcome you to Attention Span Labs. Today, you're looking at my 6 foot by 4 foot table topper that turns a simple 6 foot by 2 foot folding table into a modular 6 foot by 4 foot table. I'm going to be laying out a table for a game I intend to do tomorrow. Saturday is my usual game day. And we're going to test out some bolt action Conflict 47 rules conversions that I posted on the Splendor of Fire website. And so I'm going to be laying out another American versus German conflict in the, I assume, I'm not 100% decided yet whether it's going to be in American control at Vadabar or in German Pellucidar. But I'm thinking German Pellucidar. But I'm going to be laying out a table. I thought maybe you guys might like that. Just something different to see rather than watching me paint something or staring at some miniatures on the table. But I'll be laying out a table and talking to you about just some thoughts I have. So as I said, I do have some ideas for improving fire maneuver in bolt action and Conflict 47. So either first edition or second edition bolt action. And I posted them on the Splendor of Fire website, and I would be interested in your commentary on it if you want to try them out. But that's the objective here. I'm going to be laying out a table that is basically, I think, I always have a little bit of plan when I do this, but I'm never 100% settled on it. I'm going to be laying out a table. This cloth that you see here is going to be representing water in a canal. There will be a navigation canal at the end of the board that sort of anchors the defender's flank. I'm not sure. We'll roll the dice to see whether the defender are the Americans or Germans. If it's the Germans, it'll probably represent, or rather, if it's the Americans defending, it'll probably represent a counterattack based on the last battles we played a couple months ago. But there'll be some dug-in positions. I'll be using my ironclad miniatures, foxholes, and so forth. But I think I'll be laying down these tablecloths as the main ground cover, kind of marshy area. But I don't know. Let's see. So these are just tablecloths. I do have some, more typical game canvases. They're not canvases, but neoprene. But I actually prefer these simple. They're not tablecloths, but it's just cloth. It's reams of cloth from usually Hobby Lobby. I get them when they're 20, 30, 40% off. A lot of them look pretty good for ground cover. So I won't be talking the whole time. You can just watch. Maybe it's maybe it'll just be a nice, relaxing experience. So one thing I was thinking about, though, to discuss was this D&D thing, and by that I mean how D&D and Wizards of the Coast in general are kind of losing a lot of money. Hasbro's losing a lot of money. And they shot themselves in the foot with some stuff they did in Magic the Gathering I don't really understand. And I don't really care about because, I'm not a Magic player. But so I think this will be the kind of sheer edge of the canal. We're going to put it off at an angle because I want it to be kind of cut off. But also looks more visually interesting. But I was watching Professor Dungeon Master do a video about his thoughts on it, and he blames a lot of it on the OGL, which of course it was, and then you have the other sort of systemic effects that don't have anything to do with anything in the market necessarily, but things like Hasbro, Mattel, like the other toy companies are not doing well in general. They, they're trying to be more than toy companies and they're not really succeeding at it. So all that stuff is true. But what I really want to talk about is something I don't think is may be obvious to me because of my efforts to get new people involved in gaming. So you may have a completely different opinion of it. It's entirely possible I'm wrong. But I'm guessing that it's actually because D&D is in fad mode. And of course, D&D has been around for 50 years, I have friends, you can see my interview with Rick Stump and his son, where they, talk about where they're involved in an RPG that Rick has been running in a single campaign that Rick has been running for 40 years. I mean, his son's not that old, right? So, but he was one of the many later generations of people who came in and joined it. So, and there's a lot of older people play D&D. I'm 40 years old myself. So Rick's games have been running longer than I've been alive. And there's definitely staying, so don't mistake me, there's definitely a lot of staying power with D&D. I don't, by no means am I saying that D&D itself is a fad, because it's not. I don't think it is. But the current levels of popularity, or I should say current until recent levels of popularity of the game, are very faddish. And they were brought about by a couple things. More so than anything, one of them was Critical. Not Critical Role. Critical Role is the second one. It made D&D into a kind of spectator event, which is bad for D&D, and it should have never been that way. There's going to kind of be a road going around here, and this is going to be kind of a cutout. Put this here. There you go. That's better. Better use of space. But that, nevertheless, that was extreme. It made it extremely popular. There's no doubt about that. However, the big thing that sort of caught on, I think, because of the use of D&D very heavily in Stranger Things, which is now going on like what? It's older than my eldest son, so it's, I'm going to say 8, 9 years old. I don't know exactly, but D&D was a big part, and certainly the first two seasons that I watched. And it was a nostalgic throwback, and they put out this D&D special edition, Stranger Things edition of the game. And of course, the Demogorgon and the Mind Flayer, they don't really have anything to do with the characters, with the monsters in the game, but they're the monsters in the TV show. That's what they named them, and that introduced, I think, a lot of this new crowd. This we'll call them what they are. We'll call them a normie crowd to D&D, and getting them, I've heard about this thing before, and now I want to play it because it's cool because it's on TV. And then they got watching, and even more so than they wanted to play, they got interested in shows like Critical Role, which is which, as I've had to explain to people before, is not really representative of what your average role-playing session is going to look like. They're actors. It has fooled a lot of people into thinking that what began as a war game is more like improv theater, and so that's not. I see I have a problem here. Yeah, I want it to kind of go to the edge, but not over. How am I going to solve this? Is a little pickle here. How am I going to solve this? Well, I guess I could bring this over a bit more. Maybe pin it. Maybe these sounds I'm generating here are asthma-inducing for some of you. I hope they're not very annoying, because they're kind of annoying to me. It doesn't sound very pleasant. But those are the people that, by and large, got involved in D&D and role-playing games in general, but mostly D&D, because it's the corporately owned thing. It's the thing that everybody knows, right? They're not going to get on a bargain basement thing like Pathfinder or whatever. You know what? Maybe I should use the geohex tiles. That way I won't have to worry about covering up the green parts of it. Good to think about. But so that was a while ago. In pop culture terms, that's an age ago. There's kids and teenagers there's teenagers that were watching that are now pushing their 30s when it first came out. There's kids that were watching it that are going off to college. So that stuff's kind of come and gone. So I think, these things don't last forever. My family, at my great grandmother's house, there was this little sign on the wall that said, "This too shall pass away," which is good and bad, right? It's good that bad things pass away, but when things you like go away too. Well, these trends definitely pass away, and then they'll come back again at some point. But I think what's actually happening that it's true what they say about the OGL. People were pissed off about that, very rightly so. People are you can say people are confused by they don't want to go with the online, the pay for play kind of model that Hasbro's obviously pushing for, that prompted some of the OGL shenanigans that are now a year old already. All this stuff is true, but I think the main thing that's running out of steam is that people just don't care about D&D anymore. The normies don't care about D&D anymore. The people who are never really gamers, and that's good, I think. Bad for Hasbro, bad for these people that are trying to monetize this lifestyle, this D&D lifestyle they got going on with their actors, and they got Vin Diesel and what's his name? I don't even know his name. Joe Manganiello, and you got these other people who they, or the chick from Daredevil. I can't remember her name either. The one who played Karen Page. You're like, oh, I'm going to DM my own thing, and look how cool this is. Like, no, that was when I could tell when they did that it was kind of peak, and it was only downhill from there. And so we're going to see that. We're going to see that kind of. We're going to see that go away. And so they're going to lose money. They're not going to be able to do this online monetization thing, which they really were relying on the COVID lockdowns for. Another great crime. That got people to think that they should play these games without ever actually having to go to anybody's house or see them. But since that's not going to fly anymore, that's good for the rest of us. When I say who's the rest of us, I mean probably if you're watching this video and you've stayed this far in, it's probably you, because you're a real gamer. You're not a poser. You are not. You're not someone who got into it as a normie and wanted to be, the spectator experience. You're not someone who buys D&D books and puts them on a shelf. You are someone who, you actually play the game. And the same thing is kind of happening because the comic industry has been dead for a while. The comic industry in America is not coming back, not anytime soon. the SJWs killed it, but also before that, its seeds of destruction were set in place by the decompression and deconstruction, which I've talked about in other videos as well. But but manga is still popular and stuff like that. But the point was that we used to have these comic conventions, and we still do have them. And when I was a kid, I'd go to them, and they'd be about comic books. And by the time I started selling, my wife and I started going to sell our own books at them. They weren't really about comic books, and we'd actually have people that we'd be trying to sell the books to, and they'd be like, they'd take offense to it. They'd be like, "I don't read," as if like, as if you're insulting them by asking them what kind of books they like to read. They're like, I don't read. So, you got a lot of people going to see actors. Every Comic-Con had to have their actors there. And it used to be the big guests of the Comic-Con were, they were artists. I'm just going to lay this down for now. We'll see how it turns out later. They were artists or comic writers. You might get some real big name there at some point, like Stan Lee or Jack Kirby back when they were still alive, or Jim Shooter or something like that. John Byrne. But you might get a fantasy artist there like Frank Frazetta. Might get a novelist. But lately the big guests have been actors, like so and so who, and the smaller conventions have all the big names are at San Diego Comic-Con, which have doesn't really have anything to do with comics anymore. It's a movie preview thing. But so smaller ones will have like, no offense to these people, but they'll have like the guy who played Flash Gordon 40 years ago, or Lou Ferrigno. I love Flash. I love that 1980 Flash Gordon movie. I love the Lou Ferrigno Incredible Hulk. All this stuff is good. Not bad mouthing these people, but they're they'll get bit part people from Sci-Fi Channel TV shows like Debbie Gibson from Sharknado will be there, or the people who used to be on Smallville or Chips or something like that. And that was what they were using to lure people in. What does that have to do with comics? Nothing, right? And you got a lot of these posers there, a lot of people that kind of ruin. And so if you were there liking comics, or if you were there because you liked action figures, you were there because you wanted to collect like these, action figures of superheroes and so forth. If you're there, even because you wanted to do like old toys or something like that, these conventions, they became pop culture conventions. So you had to shift from what you liked, and pretty soon there was, there's people women selling jewelry there. Lots of women selling jewelry. And that became the number one thing that got sold at conventions. And that sucks. If you're going there for comics, or you're going there for like good deals on like old toys, collectibles, things like that, it sucks to see nothing but row after row after row of these like cheap jewelry thing where they're making their little resin. Yeah, I'm not bad mouthing these people. Like, everybody's got to have something they like, right? But like, they should be at your neighborhood craft fair. They should not be at the comic conventions. But that's what we got. That's what we got for a long time. And we're probably still getting them. I haven't gone to a comic convention in a while. But my guess is that, it's still ongoing. But as that kind of stuff dies off, you will have as the TV shows keep getting worse and the Hollywood movies, people don't watch them anymore, they will die off and they'll revert back to being a regular comic convention. That's the same thing with these games like D&D that are, in my opinion, going away. They're on the late stage of the fad cycle. You'll be able to go to game conventions that, Wonder of Wonders, are actually focused on games. Actually, what I want to do is, if this is the defender's side, I want to angle it in the other direction. It also reduces my problem with covering this table a little bit. And it's not just about conventions. It's about when you find people at the store and they tell you they want to play, they would like to play in your D&D game. You can say, would they? Do they really? Because something I alluded to in the beginning, and I've talked about this before, is I have tried to get a lot of young people into gaming. I've been successful with my own children doing stuff like playing games like HeroQuest, but that's not what I'm talking about. Of course, they're going to like the stuff I like. What I'm talking about is so in 2020, in the summer, I invited some friends over and friends of my own age over, and one of them had a daughter who really liked Stranger Things, and she was like, I really want to play D&D. So I was like, well, I'll work up a campaign. If you really want to play, I'll do it. I'll run it for you. And I wonder if this would look better if I just put these on the top. Maybe I should use these. Anyway, the canal is going to go mostly like so. And so I started what became my Sword of Cepheus game. You can watch the Sword of Cepheus review video for more on that. But she was the first one to leave the game, so we ended up having 5-6 people involved. And her sister and brother actually played for a little bit longer than she did, but she was clearly, she swore she was interested in it and then really wasn't. Her sister and brother, same thing basically. They would not pay attention to the game. They were checking their phone. They would get involved. They would get mad when something bad would happen to their characters. Their father would show up, but they wouldn't show up. I've had another young man from our church who came over. He wanted to play these games, and he said that he expressed a lot of interest even in the Wargame stuff. So he gave him all these miniatures and stuff, and then he didn't. He built. I gave him a ton of miniatures, not just me, but the other guys in the group, and he built 4 of them. Never painted any of them. We gave him paint, we gave him paintbrushes, we gave him glue, gave him knives, the sort of stuff that, if it was me at his age or younger, well, I started wargaming even younger than him, and it would have been like a heavenly gift, especially because the older people want to spend time with me. Older people are willing to let me join their game. Older people are willing to teach me stuff that they've learned. We had nothing of that. We didn't, I started, there was no YouTube, there was no, how do I paint this thing? There was no, I don't know how to use a wash or a glaze or anything like that. You had to find a book, and you'd be lucky to find one. Yeah, so anyway, but all these kids, and then, same thing with my nephews. This Christmas, I bought bolt action stuff for them. They both really like World War II. I bought the bolt action, the Band of Brothers set. It's like half American, half German, because I know they usually play. One plays American, one plays German. They play games like Axis and Allies and stuff like that. And I gave them equipment for it, and I said, "Yeah, come on over. You'll like this stuff." And they haven't even answered my wife's text. That she's their aunt, right? They haven't even answered her text messages. We invited them over to play games. Not even coming up with a lame excuse like I'm washing my hair. So this is 1, 2, 3. This is six teenagers to young 20-somethings, and they're some are they're I guess average. I'm not saying they're they run a gamut, right? From weird kids to very normal kids to kids that do very well in school to kids that are more artsy and creative and don't do well in school, but they're not interested in school. Kids that really like history, kids that don't like history, kids that they like to read, others that like to play sport. Whatever the thing is, it's a cross section, and it cuts a good average. And not one of them over the course of the last four years has been interested. Interested in the long term, right? And they were interested for a little while, and they may still when it's convenient for them, they would like to play a game. But that's okay. They got to do their own thing. So I'm not. I'm trying to. The other thing is so this is why I think that it's not going anywhere, because if there's that many kids, it's okay, it's my local area, whatever. But I hear this from other people. They're not interested. These kids are not interested in doing pretty much anything. It's like they don't have any hobbies at all. So they're definitely not going to pick up a weird hobby which involves imagine a theater of the mind imagination, for role playing games and stuff like that. They may for a while buy books, and they'll buy T-shirts because it looks cool, or they're told it's cool by some TV show they watched. Because watching a TV show is super easy; it's just passive consumption. But this is active involved. You have to read. Especially if you want to DM, you gotta think about things and come up with alternatives, and you gotta take notes, and you gotta. And the other thing is you gotta have friends. A lot of. I'm not saying anything particular about the ones that I'm talking about, but kids in general don't have friends. They don't want to have, or they want to have friends, but they're so their heads are up their own ass, and they're mad at them over some microaggression, or they're so socially awkward or filled with so much anxiety. They don't know what to do. They're afraid to go over people's houses. Their parents will let people come over their houses, things like that. So, I think to run these kind of games, which are inherently social, that's a problem that no game company has come up with a solution for. And that's why I think that the D&D fad is it's petering out. It doesn't have much juice left in it, and that's going to do more to hurt it than the OGL or anything like that. Because internet furor dies down, and most people playing, quote unquote, buying books for D&D have no idea what the OGL is, and they're not going to write their own supplements or anything like that. So. Certainly that was an unwise move, especially with their movie coming out, but what's really killing them is just the fad's dying. So what's the next fad? I actually think there's a fair chance, and it is kind of faddish already, there's a fair chance that Warhammer, particularly Warhammer 40,000, will be this, I think it is faddish already, but will pick up some of the steam of this fad, because they don't ever just jump the ship into the ocean and drown, right? They jump from sinking ship to sinking ship. And you guys know I don't like Games Workshop, but there's a lot of that already. But that's if Henry Cavill ever comes out with his Warhammer TV show, that will be something that people will jump onto for a little bit. It'll be fewer people than D&D because it's one thing to buy books and put them on your shelves and never read them. It's another thing to buy even more expensive miniatures, never put them together, and never paint them. And a lot of people do that already. Yeah, so I think there's going to be this canal will kind of be the anchor point of or the flank line, and there's going to be a road going up through here. That there's the should angle the camera a little bit. So a road will be coming up through here, kind of winding. There'll be a lot of trees on each side. Lots of stuff for ambush. Lots of positions to be ambushed on. So I need to do something here. I need to put some kind of ridge line or something here. So I think because they're very high, those larger cliffs that I was using before are not quite suitable. So instead I'll use these from these geohex tiles. I won't necessarily put them in anything. I won't necessarily connect them all together or anything like that. And we'll see how well they hold. And it's okay for this line to be unnaturally straight because it's a canal. It's a cutting. And the same thing is going to be true too. The road's going to be cut through here. So there's going to be a elevation on one side, probably an elevation on two sides. But so the as I was saying, the Warhammer, if it is Warhammer, if there's another game, it'll probably be Warhammer, because I can't think of another game that they would latch onto. That's not a video game. And Warhammer already has a very high presence in video games and stuff like that. So I think people will latch onto that for a little bit. They'll move over, but it will never be. It will not reach the apex that D&D did. But eventually, it will die the same death too. Even more so because if people can't be bothered to play in the theater of the mind. On one hand, it's more it has the potential for being more popular, if only because there's something physical involved in it, and it's an easier sell to people and say, well, there's a physical thing you can buy and look at, these toy soldiers, right? Which I would normally say, oh yeah, that has more possibility than the theater of the mind imagination. But people don't, these miniatures don't come built and painted. And that's what they would need to do. They basically need to have Funko Pops. Funko Pops are dying too, though. That whole company is about going out of business. If they didn't actually already go out of business, so. This too shall pass away. So rather than belabor the point, I don't think I have too much more to say about this. I'm going to stop the video here, but maybe keep filming a bit, put some nice music over while I can concentrate on doing this, and then I'll definitely take a shot of the table at the end. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think, if you agree with me or not, in the comments. Share the video. I'm getting close to 2,000 subscribers. So I would appreciate any help on that front. Not that it means anything, because YouTube doesn't give any money. They don't give anybody any money anymore, and it's not. That's not going to get me any money anyway. Even back in the days when they actually did pay their people. But let me know what you think, and God bless you and have a good night. Attention Span Labs signing off. So I took a break and tried to come up with an idea, because this is going to be hard to do with cloth at an angle, and also very hard to do with geohex. So I thought, we'll put it in the middle. Use this example from Wargame Soldiers and Strategy number 124 from whatever month this was. Battle in Belgium, World War II. The bridge at Odysee. So, I'm going to crack on with that and let you watch. Enjoy. And this is the promised Battle of Unter Innsbruck, or Innsbruck underneath the poles. I showed you as I was making it. There's the machine shop for the Harbonite mine. Most of the town is beyond this, and this is the canal. This is the Innsbruck Lohar industrial canal system. You see there's already some damaged boats in there from previous fighting, but mostly this town is intact and in German hands. You can see some prepared fighting positions over there. There's the church. The American goal is nothing less than they need to take this town and drive forward and capture it. It's an important industrial position, and it's sort of the key to the Lohar region. Lohar is an important Gilak German colonial city.